Hello everyone, in this tutorial we'll be walking through tutorial 1 in our Microsoft Access lesson over creating a database. Now each chapter in our Microsoft Access 2013 textbook by Adamski is called a tutorial, so you'll probably hear me use the word tutorial or chapter synonymously in this just because the textbook is set up to be listed as tutorials that we'll be covering. Now, in reading the tutorial and doing the exercise steps, you will learn the concepts and terminology of databases and how to use your Microsoft Access 2013. Each of these tutorials that we're going to be completing is going to build on the preceding one. So each week I will make sure to have the correct tutorial file from the previous session so that you're working with a perfect database. So the importance of getting your assignments turned in on time, extremely critical, because obviously if I'm giving you the correct one the next day, there's no credit that can be given to you for a late assignment because you'll have access to the correct one. Now while we're working through tutorial 1, we're going to create a database consisting of a standard table, a query, a form, and a report, getting an overall general feeling of Microsoft Access and its relational databases. Now all of these are contained in one file that's going to end in an extension when you save it as .accdb, because this is the Microsoft Access file extension for 2010 and 2013 and 2016 for Microsoft Access. If you're not real sure yet, well, that'll be explained in the tutorial as to how to save your database. Now by following the tutorial and doing the steps given, you will create an entire database. This is a file that you will need to submit for grading. Working through the tutorials like this while you're reading will help, and it will help you do the exercises in the end of the chapter as well. And if you need to, use my videos to go back in as you're working through your exercises to maybe reinforce something or refresh your mind. Like, oh, I don't remember that entirely, but I know it's in the video. I can go back and then you can see the steps performed, and then it may re-trigger in your mind, and then you will be able to do it yourself. So follow along and let's complete tutorial 1. Now before we get started, I have an Access 2013 database open here just so you can see some of the elements you're going to be working with. You can see I have a table here in this area here where my tables, my queries, my forms, and my reports are all listed. So as you need to access one, you'll go into this area of access, known as the navigation pane, and you'll constantly hear me referring to this navigation pane because we will be going up here to the shutter bar and we'll constantly opening and closing things here in our shutter bar. So once again, you'll get used to the navigation pane and the shutter bar, and we'll get through all this together. So there's a lot of different elements that you'll read about for Access. We'll just be going through the steps for this one, but I want to get some of those basic concepts that you're going to get used to me saying taken care of on the front end here. Now our tables that we're going to be designing are just a collection of fields that are going to describe a person, place, object, event, or even an idea. And when I use the word field, a field is just a single characteristic or an attribute of a person, place, object, event, such as, like guest first or patient ID or first name or last name. Those are all fields. So the collection of all these fields will form our access tables or our database table. As we build on it, we will also use the term relational database because this is a collection of related tables. If we had other tables listed here and they were all related somehow, but we don't have redundant data in them, that is how we have a relational database. It's just a collection of related tables. And when we have these other tables, they're going to be connected and have relationships between the tables through a common field that we've designated. And the field may be a primary key, like this being the guest ID is our primary key. That is a collection. It could be a collection of fields or it could just be a single field that uniquely identifies each of our records in the table. And if we had another table here and we were using this guest ID in that table as well, In that second table, it would be a foreign key. So it may not be the primary key in that table because some other field has been designated as a primary key, but because that field is tying both of the tables together, it would be the primary field in this table, and in the second table it would be a foreign key. So just some of the terms that you'll get familiar with as we go throughout the course. Now when I talk about Microsoft Access, using this is a database management system. It's just software that lets us create databases and then manipulate the data that's contained in there, such as creating our queries and creating those forms and stuff. And we want to set fields that do calculations. Now in a relational database management system, data is going to be organized as a collection of tables. So a relational database controls the storage of databases and facilitates the creation, manipulation, and reporting of that data in our database from those tables. Just a couple more terms I wanted to throw out there. As you are opening Microsoft Access, you see I have it pinned and I'm going to open it now. So when you start Access and it opens up, the first screen that appears, as you see here, this is called our Backstage View, which contains commands that allow you to manage your Access files and options. And you also see that there are built-in templates here that are available to us, or we can search online from Microsoft as templates that are already created for us, so we don't have to start from scratch. So you can just remember that as you hear the word template used in IT all the time, it's just a pre-designed database that includes generally professionally designed tables, reports, and other database objects, so that you don't have to start from scratch, so that you can just modify that one to best fit your needs. With Access 2013 and 2016, you have the ability to work in touch mode. So if you have a tablet or touch screen on your PC, feel free to switch to Access mode using your Quick Access toolbar and then search for the touch mouse mode and make sure to turn that on so that you have that ability, and so you don't have to constantly use the mouse if you don't want to. The other point that I want to point out here in Access is our two main views that we will use. This view that you see here where all this information is kind of like a spreadsheet, well, thankfully that's going to be easy to remember because this is the datasheet view. So it's like looking at an Excel spreadsheet or a worksheet. When you see this view, this is a datasheet view. Now if you go to the bottom here and you click on the icon to the right of that, that's the design view. That's how you can see the inner workings behind what you're working on, whether it's a table, a query, a form, or a report. So you click on the design view and you have a whole nother look. So if we wanted to add another field, we could add a field here. We could use the drop down to change what type of data type we're using, and then we can leave a general description here if we wanted to let others that are going to be using this database, maybe we take a job doing another one later, so if someone else comes behind us and uses this, they can see why those fields are there, why we selected that data type. And we have general categories here that we can manipulate as well, such as an example, changing the field size. Maybe we don't need to have 255 characters. We can limit that and change that. We can have a default value set. As you go through the course, you'll learn to use all these features. So I will go back to our datasheet view and we will start our tutorial.